Welcome to HP Fanfiction. Support me by subscribing the channel. Also, like and share the video to keep me motivated to make more videos like these. Harry got off the train and walked to the nearest bar to enjoy his first taste of Canada beer. The bartender jumped as the strange man in the corner made himself known. "Sorry, I didn't notice you before. I'll get your beer right away." "No problem," Harry nodded. "I'm good at going unnoticed." "Here you are, sir." The bartender set a bottle in front of Harry. "No charge for the first one, and sorry again for not noticing you." "Don't worry about it," Harry said with a smile. Harry dropped a large tip on the bar and nursed his beer for several minutes, until a scruffy-looking man burst into the room. "No one move." The thug waved his pistol around. "Give me everything in the cash register." "All right, son," the bartender said, trying to keep everyone calm. "No one has to get hurt." "Don't talk back to me," the thug screamed, shattering the bar mirror with a badly placed shot. "I'm the one with the gun, and that means that I'm the one with the power." The man's tirade cut off abruptly as an empty beer bottle hit him in the side of the head. "All I wanted was some peace and quiet," Harry lamented as he lowered his arm. "But no, something always has to happen. Why can't I have just 1 week without something like this happening? Just 1 bloody week." Harry calmly approached the dazed punk who had regained enough of his senses to start yelling threats. "I'm gonna gut you. You're dead. You hear me, dead?" "Yes," Harry agreed, kicking the man in the head. "I am." Taking one last look around the bar, Harry sighed. Experience had taught him that when things like this happened, it was time to move on. "Wait," the bartender called. "Who are you, stranger?" Harry paused and muttered something right before he stepped out the bar's batwing doors and disappeared into the night. "What did he say?" the bartender asked his paling customers. "For God's sake, tell me what he said." "Mr. Black," one of the customers managed to calm enough to speak. "He said that his name was Mr. Black." "My God!" The bartender's eyes widened in shock. "My God!" Harry was still grumbling as he walked out of the bar and up the town's one street. "And then I'll find whoever thought it was funny to make me fate's bitch and show them what it feels like." Harry pulled out his broomstick and pointed the tip north. He still had a lot of ground to cover before he got to his cabin. Elsewhere, the preservation charms on a jar of mayonnaise failed. But that doesn't have any bearing on this story. At least, not yet. Back on Black Island, the professor and henchgirl were trying to figure out a way to modify the wards to keep Australians away. Bastards were always bringing their boats right up to the edge. Said it was a good place to party. "Professor," henchgirl called out, "take a look at these readings." The professor squinted at the printout. "It appears that something came in when we dropped the wards the other day. Shall we investigate?" "It's the responsible thing to do," henchgirl mused. "Let's go." The professor and henchgirl skipped happily down the hall until they reached the new sewage overflow tank. "Activate the drainage and automatic cleaning functions," the professor commanded. "Roger." Henchgirl gave a sloppy salute. The two insane scientists waited until the charms had done their jobs before opening the tanks to find a severely traumatized team of assassins. "Oh my," the professor looked down in disgust. "Would any of you chaps care to get out of there? Or do you wish to continue your recreational activities?" "We'll tell you anything. We'll do anything." One of the assassins sobbed. "Just get us out of here." "Right," the professor nodded. "Drop your wands and any magical items and tell me when you are done." A small pile of deadly devices formed in the corner as the assassins divested themselves of the tools of their trade. "Well, is that all?" henchgirl demanded. In response, several of the assassins grinned sheepishly and added another layer to the pile. "One moment," the professor replied as he pulled a long string of twine out of his pocket. "Take hold of this," he commanded as he tossed the twine into the pit. "It will activate after you have all taken hold." The men took hold of the twine and disappeared. "Well," the professor began, "I guess you were right about not dropping the wards." "Of course," henchgirl said smugly. "I'm always right." "How dare you assert such a thing?" the professor screamed in rage. "Take that back, wench." "Make me, you dirty little gnome," henchgirl retorted. "We're glad you could make it, Remius. Tonks." Hermione said politely. "We thought it would be best to have you guys backing us up when we met the Count." "We are happy to lend our aid," Remus said, with a smile. especially in matters this delicate. And we're happy to have you, Remy, Hermione said. But why? Why what? Tonks asked. Why is Remus wearing a Red Riding Hood? Luna asked innocently. I'll grant that it makes him look adorable, but it doesn't really seem practical for this sort of activity. We were cool, an extremely red Remus stuttered. Playing Little Red Riding Hood, Tonks finished. I was the big bad wolf and I just gobbled him up. We'll explain when you're older, Remus hastened to add. Can I play too? Luna asked hopefully. No, Remus shouted. Now let's talk about something else. Darn, Luna said in disappointment. I never get to play. And so, an embarrassed Remus, an amused Tonks, a confused Hermione, and a sulking Luna approached the Count's castle. Do you think we should knock? Tonks asked. As if in answer to her question, the doors swung open to reveal a man dressed in fine silks. May I help you? The man asked with a smirk. Perhaps have you all for Plath to dinner? We're here to ask about Mr. Black, Hermione said with false confidence. Are you friends of his? The man asked. Students, Luna replied. At least me and Hermione are. We wanted to talk to him about Harry Potter. I see. The Count's smirk disappeared. I'm afraid I can't help you. Mr. Black hasn't been here for some time. Thank you for your time, Hermione said in disappointment. There's still that lead in Germany, Luna said with false cheer. That I can help you with, the Count interjected, for a price. What price? Remus asked wearily. When you see Mr. Black, the Count began, ask him to visit his old friend the Count. Done, Hermione shouted. How can you help us? Here, the vampire handed over a large bronze key. It will take you to Berlin when you say the name of the country that you would like to go to. Thank you. Hermione took the key and held it out so everybody could touch it. Germany. So how did you guys end up in our sewage overflow tank? The doctor asked with a barely concealed smirk. We were sent here to kill you, hench girl, and the professor, one of the assassins replied nervously. That explains it, the doctor said with a nod. That sort of attitude has been known to annoy Mr. Black. Don't annoy him. You wouldn't like him when he's annoyed. Oh. Is there anything to do to make him not want to drown us in raw sewage? Don't worry about it, the doctor said, waving off the man's concerns. What do you mean, don't worry about it? One of the assassins screamed. If hench girl saved you, then you're safe for now, the doctor explained. Mr. Black'll respect her wish to keep you alive unless you do something stupid. Would it be possible to defect? One of the assassins asked hopefully, and to have the past few weeks wiped from my memory. I'll think about it, the doctor replied, but only if you're good. Harry landed in the last outpost of civilization on the way to his cabin, and walked up the small 3-building town's only street. Evening, an old man waved. Been expecting you. Shopkeeper, Harry asked with a frown. Owner of the general store, the man agreed. Come in, got a few things that might be useful to you. Why not? Harry sighed. After you. Got a couple things here that you might find useful, and a bag of things that you'll need if you're going to be spending a lot of time in the wilderness. The old man gestured to a pile on the counter. Why do you think I'll need them? Harry asked, bracing himself for the worst. 'Cause everyone needs them, the old man replied. I don't have much of the sight, so I'm relying on common sense. That's good to hear. Quite refreshing, really. Harry said with a smile. What do you recommend? Main thing is a good axe, the old man replied. I picked this one out because it's got a good blade geometry and because it's got a few charms on it that'll give you a bit of skill. Won't have to sharpen it either. Great, Harry said with a nod. Anything else? Few books on how to live in the bush, the man said with a shrug, and a few books on Canadian bush magic, nothing too fancy. I'll take 'em. Harry gathered everything up. How much? $250, the man replied. Sorry it's so much, but I've got to make a living. No problem, Harry handed over the cash. But why don't you use some sort of odd wizarding money? I'd have taken gold dollars, the man said with a grin, or beaver pelts. But it's just easier to do it this way. I think you'll find that even the magic folk show common sense in this country. One of the charms. I bet, Harry replied with a shake of his head. I'd better get going. Sooner I get to my cabin, the sooner I get these tests done. One thing before you go, the old man said, licking his lips. You'll want some firewood and there's an old snag north of your cabin. You might want to cut it down when you get up there." "I knew it was too good to be true," Harry muttered to himself as he walked out the door. Another hour of flight took Harry to his place in the woodland for a few minutes. He just closed his eyes and allowed his senses to enjoy the smells of nature. Everything was new to his city-bred nose, smell of pine mixed with other smells to make a symphony better than that of the finest perfumes. It took several seconds for Harry to realize what the lack of pollution was adding to everything, and for a moment he felt at peace. Then he remembered the shopkeeper's suggestion and pulled out his new axe. Harry was halfway through the tree when he was met by a man walking up the trail. "Evening." Harry called out. "Hello," the man replied. "New in these parts?" "Yup," Harry agreed. "Planning to spend a bit of time here before moving on to someplace else. You?" "Lived here all my life," the man replied. "Own the bar in town. Come in sometime and the first drink's on me." "I might take you up on that," Harry replied with a grin. "Have a good day." "You too," the man called out as he walked up the path. "What a nice fellow," Harry muttered to himself. "Well, back to work." Harry was nearly through the tree when the man from before came running down the path, screaming for him to lock himself in the cabin. "I wonder what he's on about," Harry said to himself. "I guess he'll explain when he gets here." The man ran past as the tree began to fall, crushing a large hairy beast. "My God!" The man stopped running. "You killed it." "Sorry about that," Harry said with a wince. "It was an accident." "Don't ever be sorry about killing one of those things." The man stared at the corpse. "Thank you, Mr. S. What did you say your name was again?" "Black," Harry replied. "First name?" the man asked, going into shock. "Mr. Harry replied. "You okay?" "I'm fine," the man said automatically. "You mind if I take that thing?" "It's yours," Harry replied. "Now if you'll excuse me, I've got firewood to cut." "Of course," the man said stiffly. "Thank you again. If you ever come to my bar, drinks are on the house all night." "Thanks for the offer," Harry called out over his shoulder. It would be several hours before he realized the name he'd given to the poor fellow. "Oh well," he thought to himself, "it would have been nice to be Harry Potter again for a few days. But it wasn't important. Our last couple chapters have been kinda linked or something. Don't know if that makes sense. Now it's off to work. I go. Hi ho, hi ho." Harry spent the next week finishing his exams and fluing them to the Ministry of Magical Education long-distance branch. And for once he felt good about his scores. The section on defense posed no trouble. Potions wasn't so difficult that he wasn't sure that he attained a passing grade. Charms, Transfiguration, and a dozen electives. He had chosen to take every exam offered by the Canadian government, and now he was done with them. Harry cackled madly for several minutes, and then froze in shock. "Looks like I've been spending too much time around Henchgirl," he muttered to himself. "Maybe it's time for me to expand my circle of friends to include people that don't think the laws of physics aren't." Elsewhere, a jar of mayonnaise continued spoiling. Hermione sighed as she started to leave the hospital. It was no use staying here. Their only lead to Mr. Black and Harry Potter had just died. "This is getting annoying." Outside she met up with her companions Remus, Tonks and Luna. "He's dead. All he had was this letter on him." Tonks grimaced. "You know this happens every time we come close. It's too coincidental. I'd almost say that Mr. Black was trying to avoid us." "What's in the letter?" Luna looked at something off to the side dreamily. "Perhaps it is a message to the next location. Mr. Black always did like talking with you." Remus shook his head as they walked off. "When did the three of you start thinking like that? Angels would kneel before your beauty. It's a coincidence, nothing more. After all, how many people have heart attacks like that? A triple heart attack? It's pretty rare. Mr. Black taught us how to do it," Hermione stated, causing Remus to look at her suddenly. "And it's the way the last 5 people we wanted to speak with died." "Well, at least he died quickly and peacefully. He wouldn't have suffered much pain," Remus offered weakly. "And what 5 people are you talking about?" "The ones we visited while you were having that time of the month," Luna replied. "And I still don't understand what the big deal about that is. The 3 of us suffer from something similar and none of us are as melancholy." "Proving once again that women are stronger than men," Tonks added with a grin of triumph. Remus decided not to comment on the girl's insensitive and untrue statements. So what's our next move? But he'd be damned if he was going to allow them to continue. I still think that Hermione and I could do a spell to summon Harry, Luna said sullenly. I am not covering myself in whipped cream, Hermione began. I am not covering you in chocolate salsa. I am not putting a cherry on top, and Tonks is not going to clean it up, especially not in the crude manner that you suggested. I still think it'd work, Luna pressed the matter, especially if we warded the room so that the only male that could join us would be Harry Potter. I'd summon me, Remus muttered. What was that? Tonks asked with a leer. I said it wouldn't work, Remus replied. Harry doesn't know how to transport himself magically. I still say it's worth a try, Luna interjected. While the foursome was walking away, Old Gossip heard a bit of the conversation clearly and guessed the rest. The three women were the angels of death, by Mr. Black Death himself to bring peace to those in torment or lead the souls of the good to heaven. Mr. Black was looking out for all of them, even in death. You sure about this, Sergeant Cooper? Sure as I can be, sir, the Mountie agreed. They say that he's the best and we're going to need the best on this job. I still don't like bringing in a civilian, the other man growled. It doesn't seem right. Plenty of precedent, sir, Cooper said quickly. And there's also the fact that he isn't exactly a civilian. Right, the other man agreed reluctantly. He isn't. Do whatever you have to do, Sergeant Cooper. I still say. Hermione's tirade was cut off by a buzzing noise coming from her pocket. Hold on a second, I've got an incoming flu on my portable. Hermione pulled out her Zippo and flipped it open. Yes? Miss Granger, McGonagall's voice asked from the flue. Are you there? I am Professor, Hermione replied. I've located Harry, Professor McGonagall said with barely restrained excitement. What? Hermione screamed. Where is he? Canada, Minerva replied quickly. He just scored the highest defense score ever recorded, and one of the highest total scores in recorded history. How'd he do that? Tonks demanded. Harry's bright, but he got extra credit for spells that none of the examiners had ever heard of, McGonagall explained. The examiners needed help from several well-known area specialists to grade the test. Forget all that, Hermione snapped. Where is he? I'm sending through a portkey, McGonagall's voice replied. It'll take you the navigatable town nearest to the address Harry marked on the test forms. Why not have it go to Harry's doorstep? Tonks asked. The American and Canadian governments placed a series of wards to prevent magical invasion from the north. Luna replied. It also makes most forms of magical transportation impossible. Correct, McGonagall's voice agreed. A former student in the Canadian Transportation Ministry arranged this ported for me so it'll get you closer than would normally be possible. Unfortunately, it will not get you out again. I'm afraid that you will have to make your own arrangements for that. Thank you, Professor, Hermione said impatiently. Could you send that portkey through now, please? It should be emerging from the flame in a few seconds, Miss Granger, McGonagall's voice said dryly. I've got it. Hermione grabbed a small red plastic maple leaf. Good, McGonagall replied. It will activate when all of you touch it. Is Professor Dumbledore going to join us? Luna asked. I don't know, McGonagall replied. I haven't been able to reach him. Goodbye and good luck. Hermione cut the connection and held out the portkey. Everyone take hold, she commanded. The portkey deposed the small group of Harry hunters in a small drinking establishment in front of the bar. Can I help you folks? The bartender asked. We need transportation to a small cabin 20 kilometers north of here, Remus replied. I can arrange that, the bartender agreed. If you don't mind traveling by sled. We don't, Hermione said quickly. Good, the bartender said with a nod. When would you like to go? In the next few minutes if possible, Remus replied. Wouldn't even think of going to the cabin till tomorrow morning if I were you, the bartender said with a grin. And even then I'd advise you to go in a large group with a guide. Why? Hermione asked quickly. Never know if Mr. Black's in the area, the bartender replied. What do you mean? Hermione asked with a frown. I didn't think innocent people would be in danger of harm from Mr. Black. They wouldn't be, the bartender agreed. You'd be in danger if Mr. Black wasn't around. Never know when he's in the area and it's best to play it safe. Why? Yeah, see that thing up on the wall? The bartender asked with a grin. Yes? Hermione replied. The indicated thing was a large stuffed creature with horrifically large teeth. I see it, Hermione prompted. That's what we call a Wendigo, the bartender said with a grin. But I thought Wendigos were just a kind of werewolf, Hermione said in horror. Why would you? Close, but no, the bartender interrupted. A werewolf is a poor bastard with a curse. A Wendigo is a more than just a were. To become one you have to eat another human. It's all quite dark. Don't know everything involved. Oh, Hermione replied. She still felt a bit sick to her stomach. So you have those things in the woods. That and more, the man agreed. That fellow caught me alone one day. I'd been out hunting and I ran into a man chopping down a tree to get a bit of firewood. The man greeted me and wished me luck. And he was a Wendigo, Hermione said in understanding. Nope, the bartender disagreed. Least I don't think he is. Could explain a few things though. No, I didn't run into the Wendigo till I was further up the trail. What'd you do? Hermione prompted. I turned tail and ran, the bartender said with a laugh. Knew it wouldn't do any good, but I figured that I might as well try. Well, I came tearing down the trail screaming at the man I'd met to run. Just as I was about to pass the man chopping down the tree, he made one last cut and the tree fell to the ground, crushing that damned Wendigo. That was lucky, Hermione commented. That's what I thought, till he told me his name. The bartender paused to draw out the moment. Damned if I know how Mr. Black knew to chop down that tree in that place at that time. But I'm glad he did, and I'm glad he decided to save my life. Waiting one more night won't hurt, Remus offered. Do you know of anywhere we could spend the night? Got a couple of rooms upstairs. The bartender replied. If you don't mind sharing with each other. We don't, Tonks said with a grin. 2 in each sound good to you guys. The girls signaled their agreement. Good, it's settled then. I'll wake you when things are ready tomorrow, the bartender offered. Thank you, Hermione said gratefully. And good night. Hermione awoke everyone at the crack of dawn and forced her friends to assemble at the base of the stairs. Up early, are you? The bartender remarked as he came in for the morning. Good. I've got your sled ready. Where is it? Hermione demanded. Is it powered by yaks? Luna asked. Or reindeer? Tonks asked in excitement. Dogs maybe. If it's dogs, then I know where we can get a wolf to pull it. I don't, Remus said quickly. It's powered by magic, the bartender interrupted. It's a disposable item that will take you to cabin and back to town. No yaks then, Luna persisted. Not since they got a union, the bartender agreed. Darn. Harry awoke late that morning to a knock on the door, muttering something incomprehensible. He forced himself out of his nice warm bed and answered the door to find a man in a red suit on the other side. Yes? Mr. Black? The man in the red uniform asked uncertainly. I am, Harry replied. He was starting to get that sinking feeling. I am here to ask for your help, the man explained. Who are you? Harry asked. And why do you need my help? I am Sergeant Cooper, Royal Canadian Mounted Police. The Mountie replied, and we need your help to track down a dangerous killer. What happened? Harry demanded. Prison escape, Cooper replied. 3 years ago. We've been tracking him around the world, but he always manages to stay a few steps ahead of us. Got any pictures? Harry asked. Several, Cooper replied. The man passed Harry a thick envelope. Why so many? Harry asked as he flipped past the first photo. And what's with the clothes? Bastard likes to send us pictures of himself, Cooper explained. Sends us a picture of a crowd and dares us to find him. The clothes are a result of a charm placed on every prisoner, turns whatever they wear into red and white stripes. Why come to me now? Harry asked mildly. If he's been on the loose so long. A child was taken, Cooper said flatly. We were able to retrieve the child but lost 3 men in the ensuing fight. I'm sorry to hear that, Harry said sympathetically. Thank you, Cooper replied calmly. The killer escaped into the wilderness and has been leading us on a chase. End. Harry prompted gently. And there is a blizzard coming, Cooper continued. We need your help to bring him in before the storm hits and tracking him becomes impossible. We would also like your help in bringing him in alive. Alive? To face justice, Cooper explained. We would like it wouldn't be right to let some private misfortune fall the man before we had a chance to get him before a judge. I'll see what I can do, Harry agreed after a long moment of thought. Let's go. Here, Cooper said, handing Harry a large pair of snowshoes. You'll need these. Hope we're not going far, Harry said as he strapped on the snowshoes. 7-league shoes, Cooper said with a grin. We don't have time to do things the normal way. Let's go, Harry suggested. Right you are, Cooper agreed, taking off in the quick trot favored by those accustomed to travel in the far north. I hate my life sometimes, Harry groaned as he began to follow the other man. Only minutes after Harry disappeared from sight, the sled containing Remus and the girls pulled up in front of Harry's cabin. Hurry up, Hermione commanded as she hopped out of the sled. A few minutes won't hurt us, Tonks protested. But I will, Hermione growled as she stalked towards the door. Oh, I'm going to give him such a talking to for worrying us like that. Hermione threw open the door and stormed into the small cabin. Harry, are you here? Place looks empty, Remus offered. There are tracks outside leading away from the cabin, Tonks called out. I don't think we missed him by much. Why do you say that? Hermione asked. Because it's still warm in here, Luna replied. His sheets are warm too. He must have just gotten out of bed. You said another day wouldn't hurt, Hermione accused. Damn it, we can still follow the tracks, Remus tried to placate the distraught girl. No, we can't, Luna said quietly. Not unless they go back to town. That's right, Remus groaned. How could I have forgotten something like that? It's okay, Tonks tried to reassure her beau. We can just wait for him to come back. Place is empty, Luna disagreed. He must have packed up and left just before we got here. I don't think he's coming back. Then there still might be clues to tell us where he's going next, Tonks said firmly. Luna lifted up the carpet and smiled. I knew I felt something hidden in here. There's a trap door. Stand back, Remus ordered. I'm going through first. Remus pried up the door and dashed down the ladder before any of the girls had a chance to object. It's just a storeroom down here, he called back. But there's a tunnel leading off to one direction that looks like it's been used recently. Think we should check it out? Yes, Tonks replied. But wait for us. I'm just going to leave Harry a note first, Luna said suddenly. In case he comes back. Don't do that, Hermione snapped. Why not? Luna asked in confusion. If he gets it, then he'll contact us. What if he doesn't? Hermione asked, looking much less confident than she had a moment before. What if he doesn't want to see any of us again? Then we should respect his wishes, Luna replied. But until he tells me that, I'm going to assume that your fears are entirely without justification. Thanks, Luna, Hermione said with a smile. Now let's go. This is where we lost the trail, Cooper said. Think you can pick it up? He's long gone, Harry said after a few sniffs of the air. I don't think it will be possible to bring him in before the blizzard hits. I see, Cooper replied without emotion. Thank you for coming. I said I didn't think it would be possible to get him before the blizzard hits, Harry said with a grin. I didn't say I wouldn't try. I'll be back with him or with his body, whichever I find first. I wouldn't suggest going out, Cooper said quickly. Not if you can't get back before the storm hits. Don't worry about me, Harry glanced up into the sky. And be sure to find a good place to hole up. This storm is going to be a bad one. With that last comment, Harry disappeared into the night. The storm raged for 3 days, and Cooper feared that he had led the stranger to his death. No man could have possibly lived through a storm like that, not in what Mr. Black was wearing anyway. After the storm broke, the Mounties dug themselves out of their shelters and looked around. Shame, Cooper said sadly, but you got to admire the fact that he was willing to try. I'll see that. What's that? The Mountie was gazing into the distance with a look of shock on his face. I don't bloody believe it. What do you see? Cooper demanded. I see a man, the other man replied, coming towards us. The Mounties awaited breathlessly as the man approached, and their hearts stopped when they saw what was in his hand. Get me away from him, the killer sobbed. Here's your man, Harry said coldly, as he tossed the killer to the ground, a bit damaged but alive. How did you survive the blizzard? Cooper asked in shock. The cold doesn't bother me, Harry replied. You might say that she's an old friend of mine. An old friend? One of the younger men began but was silenced by a look from one of his more seasoned compatriots. Yes, Harry agreed. Now if you gentlemen will excuse me, I haven't eaten in 2 days and I am in bad need of a shower. Thank you for your help, Cooper said. The man's nerves were frayed and he was running on automatic. If you'd like, we have fresh coffee in the cabin before you go. Coffee? Harry mused. He couldn't recall trying coffee in the past. Well, I guess a cup wouldn't hurt. The shocked mounted police watched Harry depart and shared a look. Immediately they turned to their prisoner to get some answers. Let me confess, the killer begged. Put me in a cell, just don't let him near me. What happened? Cooper demanded. I was holed up in a snow cave, the killer said slowly, when there was a break in the storm, and he appeared. I tried to shoot him but the action was froze. I tried to pull my knife but it caught on my belt and fell into the snow. He's not human. He just grabbed me and dragged me back here. He walked for 2 days without stop. The storm wouldn't touch him. It stopped when he came and started again as he passed. Please don't let him get me. Waldorf Statler Peterson, aka Killer Pete, aka Dorf the Killer, aka Waldo. You're under arrest for several murders and anything else we think to charge you with. You're going to be rotting in Astoria prison for magic-endowed criminals until you're a bitter old man. Take him away, Cooper commanded. Involuntary, he shuddered as he watched the man get cuffed and dragged away. Mr. Black had kept to the letter of his bargain. He hadn't killed the man. He hadn't had to. Luna and her minions, followers, companions followed the footprints in the dust of the tunnel for what seemed like hours. Look at the walls, Remus said suddenly. They've changed. Looks like goblin-made megalithic stonework, Hermione said after a moment. Strange to find it up here. It looks like the tunnel is opening up, Tonks added. No sense putting things off. The 3 girls and a rather reluctant Remus crept up to the opening and peered into the cavern. Kitsune, Luna said in delight, and Yuki Onna, and more Vila than I've ever seen in one place in my life. Hermione said in shock. Where the hell are we? Black's Island, Tonks said in shock. I'm sure of it. And you are correct, a voice said from their left. What can I do for you? We were just in Canada, Tonks stammered. How the hell did we get here? Looks like you walked, the voice replied. Forgive my rudeness, I am the architect. I built these tunnels. I'm Luna, the girl introduced herself. I invented a new way to count that starts with 5 million instead of 1. A notable accomplishment, I'm sure, the goblin said with a grin. What may I do for you? We're looking for Harry Potter, Hermione said. You haven't seen him, have you? I don't believe so, the architect said, after a moment of thought. Damn, Hermione growled. Now what? I suggest you come with me, the architect replied. I may know someone who could help you. Who? Luna demanded. It's not a Greblimuk, is it? Because you can never trust anything they say. I don't believe she is, the architect assured his guest. Though it could explain a few things. Be quiet, Luna, Hermione snapped. Lead the way, sir. Walk this way, the goblin commanded. Let's go, Hermione said. And stop walking like that, Luna. But he said, not now, Hermione interrupted and immediately regretted it. I'm sorry, Luna, it's just that we were so close. It's okay, Luna patted her friend on the shoulder. I understand. I can see my room from here, Tonks said in excitement as they walked up a large hall. It was just down that side hall, but I don't remember this area. It's new, the architect explained, sort of. Oh. Now just walk through this door, the architect said. She's waiting for you. That door? Remus asked nervously, the one that has an insane giggling on the other side of it. Yes, the one that has horrific screams coming from the other side of it, Remus asked again. Yes, the one with the screams, the architect agreed. Just to be clear, Remus began. I just want to be sure that you're talking about the door with the sign that says trespassers will be violated, the sign that says warning. If you come through this door your mind may shatter because it finds out things that man was not meant to know. Yes, that door, the architect agreed with a frown. Now go in. So I don't make any mistakes, Remus said. I want to be sure that it's the door with the evil black-purple smoke with green edging coming out from under it. And a doormat that bears the statement by crossing this threshold, you agree to be subjected to any number of harmful and painful experiments. Yes, that door, the goblin screamed. Now go in. Come on, Remus, Tonks commanded. You're holding us up. Yeah, Hermione agreed. It's not like anything bad will happen to us. Oh God, tears began leaking out the corners of Remus's eyes. You just had to say that, didn't you? You take his right arm, Luna said, and Hermione will get his feet. Right, Tonks agreed. And so the three brave girls carried the weeping werewolf into the mysterious room. Hello? Hermione called out nervously. You can let me down now, Remus said in defeat. How do we know you won't run out through the door? Tonks asked suspiciously. Because it disappeared the second you crossed over, Remus replied. Oh, Tonks looked back. So it did. Hi, a perky voice called back. Hello, Luna called out. Hi, the voice called back. Hello, Luna called out. She was beginning to like this game. Hi, the voice called back. She was also begging to like this game. Can we get on with this? Hermione called out. Please. Okay, the voice agreed. We can play later. Let's all get down to business. Could we see you first? Remus asked. Unless of course you're some sort of supernatural horror. Sure, the voice replied, and a wild-eyed woman in a lab coat stepped out. Hello, my name's Hen Girl. And Luna. Luna introduced herself. And I must say that it's quite refreshing to find someone in the world besides my father that knows how to play yell hello at each other. Pity we didn't have time to complete the entire thing, Hench Girl agreed. Isn't it? Luna replied. How long does it take to play the whole thing? Tonks asked with a grin. No less than 13 hours, Luna replied. Only if you're playing with the revised rulebook, Hench Girl sniffed. I prefer to play the traditional way that takes no less than 2 days. Moving right along, Hermione interjected. We were told that you wished to speak with us. Yeppers, Hench Girl agreed. I've heard that you're looking for Harry Potter. And Hermione asked suspiciously. I can't do much to help you, Hench Girl said with a frown, but I can do a few things. Why can't you help us? Remus asked. Mr. Black, Hench Girl replied, has some dumb idea that Harry has to figure these things out for himself. I, on the other hand, think that Harry's making a mistake by cutting himself off. Why'd he do it? Hermione asked quickly. Why'd he leave? Because he saw what he'd become, what he could be capable of, and he didn't like it. Hench Girl said sadly. I think he might be trying to protect you. That's stupid, Hermione said quickly. I know, Hench Girl agreed. I think he might also have been afraid that he wouldn't be allowed to leave Hogwarts or retain his independence if he stayed. Not sure about that though. So what can you do for us? Tonks asked. I'll let the professor tell you that. Hench Girl replied. He still thinks that it's all his idea and he'll start sulking if I tell you before he has a chance to. Elsewhere, a jar of mayonnaise was beginning to turn green. Harry was riding south towards the border when he saw something that he had to stop for. Son of a bitch, he muttered to himself. Surrey, next right. He read the sign. Guess England wasn't the only place unfortunate enough to have one. Harry stared at the sign for several more minutes before he cleared his throat and deliberately spat on the sign. Then he pulled back into traffic and continued south to the customs booth. Papers, please, the customs agent said without looking up. Here you are. Harry handed over his passport. Well then, Mr. Black. The man froze. Yes? Purpose of visit, the agent said, his eyes locked on the passport. Just passing through, Harry replied. Here are your papers back, the man said stiffly. Have a nice day. Thanks. Harry restarted his motorcycle and continued south. It's several minutes for the customs agent's mind to reboot, and when it did, the first thing he did was pick up the phone. Code Black, I repeat, Code Black. Hello again, Miss Granger, Miss Tonks, the professor said with a grin. How you been? We've been good, Tonks replied. You can't complain, the professor said with a shrug. Who are your companions? This is Remus, Tonks introduced her special friend, and this is Luna. Hello, Luna said. Hi, Remus waved. You wouldn't happen to be a werewolf, would you? The professor asked with a squint. Is that going to be a problem? Remus asked cleverly. No, the professor said with a smile. Mr. Black himself is part werewolf. I was just wondering. Part werewolf, Remus gasped. Yes, the professor agreed. As to the reason for your visit, Well, I'm afraid that the only person that can tell you the location of Harry Potter is Mr. Black. So you won't help us either, Hermione said flatly. I didn't say that, the professor said with a smile. How would the three of you like to work for Black Ink? What? Hermione asked in shock. How would you like to work for Black Ink? The professor said loudly and slowly. You might also want to see the doctor to check your hearing. I can hear you just fine, Hermione snapped. I just wasn't sure I heard the right thing. Oh, the professor said in understanding. Well, what would you want us to do? Luna said quickly. Trouble consultants, the professor said vaguely. What do you think of the code name Lovely Angels? He's what? The commander of the magical law enforcement for the Washington State Police asked quickly. In America, sir, the trooper replied. Crossed the border a few minutes ago. Who do you think the target is? The commander asked with a resigned sigh. Couldn't say, sir, the trooper replied. Keep an eye on the morgue then, the commander ordered, and tell me if you find anything. Yes, sir, the trooper agreed. Times, the reporter answered the phone. I've got some information for you, the voice on the other end replied. $500. What's the information? The reporter demanded. And I'll tell you ahead of time that I doubt it is worth that much. It's about Mr. Black, the voice said smugly. What about him? He's in Washington heading towards Seattle. The voice said that good enough. Can you give me anything else? The reporter asked, outwardly calm. What would you like to know? Anything you got, the reporter said quickly. I want another $500, the voice said after a moment of thought. Deal. He's at least several thousand years old and the being responsible for the sinking of Atlantis. The voice began. Why? There are several theories, the voice explained. We know that Merlin was exiled from the island for his lack of magical power, and it isn't hard to guess how society would have treated squibs or muggles. Go on. We also saw Black's reaction to the blood purists in Germany, the voice said slowly. Current thought is that it brought up old memories and that what we saw in Germany was nothing compared to what he did the first time. What else can you give me? The reporter's fingers danced over his typewriter. What about the rumors that he's deaf? Maybe his is, the voice replied. Or maybe he's just what the myths are based on. I don't know. What else? The reporter demanded. One more thing, the voice paused. Don't assume any death is an accident when Black is in town. Just look closely at the background of any corpse. Thank you. What about my money? The voice demanded. You'll get it, the reporter said with a frown. $1,000. Have it with you when you go home from work next Monday, the voice ordered. I'll get it from you then. In. Well, here's another part. Keep trying to knock out the next chapter of Back in Black. Got the idea and the outline in my head. Just have to find the time to write it. Another good omake by Chris Hill. This omake takes place a few days after the capture of Waldo. Sergeant Cooper walked into the office of his boss, wondering what was up. Sergeant, I've read all of the reports filed on the Peterson arrest. What I want now is your impression of what happened, as Peterson could be declared insane, said his superior. Cooper nodded. Sir, what I saw was right out of legend. Mr. Black walked off into a blizzard, tracked him down and brought him back. Peterson said that he walked non-stop for 2 days, dragging him back to justice. That's what happened, Cooper. What I want to know is your impression of Mr. Black. Cooper almost fidgeted. Sir, I've had a few days to think about it, and I believe Mr. Black was one of the first. The Mountie looked at Cooper. Are you sure of that? Sir, yes, sir. Sergeant Cooper stated. I have had a chance to look at the database, and came up with a Sergeant Black. No first name recorded. He was one of the men that in 1876 signed treaties with both the Cree and the Blackfoot. In addition, he went on to be one of the first to create the reputation of always catching our man. How can you be sure of this? It was Black's actions and comments, sir, the sergeant replied. Mr. Black is obviously well versed in woodcraft, but he was determined to bring Peterson in despite the weather. This was a blizzard that could easily cause one to get lost and die, but he went anyways. He didn't stop and followed his duty to bring Peterson in, forgoing eating normal comforts to do so. In addition, he said that the cold was a friend of his. The only one that I know that say that are those that take the traditional methods, classes. He acted like one of the legendary Mounties. Sergeant Cooper's boss nodded. Good. Write that up. I want to pass it on to Ottawa right away. Sir, if I may, Cooper began, I have a request. What is it? I would like to get approval from headquarters to do a series of shows on the people which made our force the legend it is. It would be good for both recruitment and morale. The Mountie at the desk considered it, put the proposal down and get it back to me as soon as possible. I3. A week later Cooper was once again called before his superior's desk. The man behind it was smiling and gave Cooper a warm handshake. Congratulations, Cooper. Ottawa approved your show with one small difference. They also want you to produce and direct the show. Cooper blinked in response. What was the change, sir? The other man smiled wider. It has to do with softwood, but they feel that this should not only be for Mounties, but for the general public, the full general public. They want to see how a Mountie, who follows the ways of our legends, will do if he tracked a criminal from up north to Chicago, then leaving him there at the embassy as a consultant for the U.S. police while solving crimes the traditional way. Cooper smiled. And the other request? Also approved. We sending Mr. Black a new red serge, and we have sent him a new badge and the plaque. The saying on the plaque is to be added to the credits of the show. Cooper smiled. Perhaps a new generation of Mounties, dedicated to duty, would be available in a few years. It made him feel good. The new television show Due South got great reviews. In the pilot, one barely seen section had the following. To Sergeant Black, the man who has thought and shown us, we who wear the red serge, the honor, dedication to duty, and determination necessary to be the best and to always catch our man. Ready for your first assignment? The professor asked seriously. We are, Hermione confirmed. We are, Tonks agreed. Sure, Luna said with a grin. Then listen closely, the professor began. Your first assignment, yes, Tonks prompted, is to get those damned Australian boaters to stop having parties at the edge of the wards, the professor said quickly. Everyone else feels a horrific sense of dread at the edge of the wards. Damned boaters just think it's a cool place to have a cold one. Remus glanced at his companions. We were hoping to assign to look for Harry Potter, or something similar. Fine, the professor said. You do that then. Go find Henchgirl and get something from her or something. Don't even worry about the boaters. Just leave me here all alone. Okay, Luna agreed with a perky smile. Bye-bye. The professor watched as the blonde dragged her friends out of the room. But you weren't supposed to agree. For the first time in months, Harry allowed himself to be a normal tourist. He spent the morning in an open-air market and then rode the monorail to the Space Needle. Afternoon, Harry greeted a uniformed police officer. Hello, the police officer replied. Can I help you with anything? Just noticed that the tracks got really close to each other back there and I was wondering how you keep the two trains from crashing into each other when they pass at that point. I don't know, the police officer said after a moment of thought. I'd guess that the engineers know what they were doing though. I guess, Harry agreed, mentally making a note to have the professor take a look at some future point in time. After his conversation with the police officer, Harry decided to explore the grounds around the Space Needle. Harry found himself in front of the Museum of Science Fiction, after a few minutes of wandering, and decided to take a look. I've got to tell the professor about this place, Harry mused to himself as he looked at another exotic. What the hell is a wood beast? Pulling his mind away from the mystery, Harry continued his tour, and was soon out of the museum. Too small, Harry summed up the experience, but it had some interesting thing in it, I guess. Harry nervously pulled out his guidebook and flipped to the section on Seattle. Nope, not gonna do that. Hell no. That doesn't seem so bad, Harry mused, and neither does that. His mind made up, Harry pulled out his motorcycle and pulled into traffic. A few minutes of riding brought Harry to his next destination, the Nordic Heritage Museum housed in what looked like an old schoolhouse. Harry spent several minutes examining the boat outside the main building before finally walking in. Good afternoon, the girl at the counter said with a smile. Is this your first visit? Yes it is, Harry agreed. I'm on vacation and when I saw this place in the guidebook I had to come. We're always glad to hear things like that, the girl said happily. Was there anything in particular that you wanted to see? I was hoping that I could get someone to look at an old belt axe I picked up in Scandinavia, Harry replied. Other than that, I just wanted to have a visit. Do you have it with you? The girl asked. Sure. Harry reached into his coat and pulled out his axe. You had that under your coat, the girl said dully. Harry had forgotten that he was in a non-magical area. I ride a motorcycle, it was easier to put it there while I rode than to bury it in my pack. I guess that makes sense, the girl said slowly. Now let me get a closer look at it. The girl examined the axe for several minutes. You wouldn't have happened to have gotten this thing near Gala, would you? Maybe, Harry said with a shrug. Why? Something I can't quite remember, the girl replied. I've got a specialist coming in for a lecture in a few days. Could you come back then? I'm just passing through, Harry said, but I could leave it here. How would you get it back? I'll leave a business card, Harry said. You can contact me when you're done with it and I'll arrange a pickup then. If you're sure, the girl said as she took Harry's card. Thank you, mister. She squinted at the card. Black. No problem, Harry said, happy that someone didn't know of his fearsome reputation. And have a good day. Be sure to check out the boat in the next room, the girl called after Harry. Harry spent several minutes wandering around the museum and eventually found himself in front of a blacksmithing exhibit. Wrong kind of vice, Harry muttered to himself. Should be a post-dam. I've been spending way too much time around the professor and hench girl, if I can spot something like that. Harry was about to continue his self-guided tour when his Zippo began to vibrate. Yes. It's me, hench girl's voice replied. You're in Seattle, right? Yup. Would you mind dropping by the locks and getting a few pictures? Hench girl asked hopefully. Sure, Harry agreed. I'll swing by them on my way out of town. Thank you, hench girl replied. Have you eaten yet? Not yet, Harry said. Then go do it, hench girl yelled. If you don't eat enough then you'll waste away to nothing. You don't have me there with you making yummy vitamin drinks, unless you want me to join you. Hench girl finished hopefully. Maybe in a couple days, Harry replied. It's not that I don't like spending time with you and the others, but everyone needs some alone time once in a while. Hench girl finished. Your friends Hermione and Luna have taken jobs at Black Ink. Doing what? Harry asked quickly. And shouldn't they still be in school? Hermione took her tests early and Luna took hers in first year. Hench girl replied. They're going through training at the moment. That Granger girl is, well, just don't ever let her play with explosives and you'll live a much happier life. Do I want to know? Harry asked with a sigh. I doubt it, hench girl said with an unseen shrug. Then don't tell me, Harry said quickly. Okay, hench girl agreed. I almost forgot we've got something new for you. What? Well, a few days ago the doctor showed the professor and me a rather interesting Muggle program. Hench girl said enthusiastically. Some of the science was a bit iffy, but there was one thing in the show that we both had to have. What? Harry asked with growing dread. Something called a Swiss Army knife, hench girl replied. So after a bit of research, we found that they're made by a couple of companies and we bought one of everything they had. Oh, Harry said as his heart rate began to slow. The only problem was that they were missing quite a few useful things, and that some of them were a little large to store in a pocket. Hench girl continued, but we've solved those problems. Good to hear, Harry said. Good job. It's coming through, hench girl said suddenly. Got it. Harry's trained reflexes allowed him to snatch it out of the air. And the manual, hench girl said. Got it. Harry's muscles bulged under the weight of the massive manual. Couldn't you have shrunk it? We did, hench girl said with a laugh. The knife has every tool we could think of, and a few other things like a spare wand, monster, that sort of thing. Munchen. Harry caught himself before he finished asking the question. Thanks, hench girl. You're welcome, hench girl said happily. Stay in touch, bye-bye. Bye, hench girl, Harry said with a smile. Harry walked out of the museum and rode his motorcycle down to the locks. I'm glad hench girl had me visit these, Harry said to himself as he used his tape recorder to take a few pictures. And I wish I'd remembered to get a new camera, he added as another group of people stared at him with odd looks. Oh well. Harry took a few more pictures before hopping on his motorcycle and heading south. Sir, the trooper called to his boss. Black's just crossed the border into Oregon. Good, the head of magical law enforcement said with a smirk. He's not my problem anymore. What's the butcher bill? We're still compiling it, sir, the man said quickly. Give me what you've got. 3 muggers slipped on banana peels and impaled themselves. 1 slipped on a patch of ice. How the hell does Black expect us to think that's an accident? The commander growled. Sure, it's cold, but it's still a bit early for ice. Some sort of weird microclimate, the underling explained. The specialist we consulted said it happened more than we'd realize. Get on with it. 1 man slipped and fell into a wood chipper, and DNA confirms that he's an ex-concentration camp guard that's been on the run for 50 or so years. Other than that, sir, well, Harbor Patrol's been finding a number of corpses floating around. And we had men watching him at all times. He wasn't out of sight more than a few minutes at a time, sir, and we detected no magic. Damn, they told me he was good, but I never believed anyone could be this good. The commander leaned back in his chair. See if you can get the department a few slots at his school. I want us to put as many men through it as we can. Yes, sir. Tonks stepped out of the shower and spent several minutes staring into the mirror. Did I get it all out? I think so. An extremely sooty Luna replied. But I don't know why you bothered. I rather like this look. Well, I don't, Tonks said with a look at Hermione. I said I was sorry, Hermione muttered. Next time someone asks if you want to play with nitroglycerin, you say no, Tonks said firmly. But I didn't think they were serious, Hermione protested. Even if you don't think it's really nitroglycerin, you don't throw mysterious bottles full of mysterious things at the wall and yell heads up, Tonks growled. But that didn't do anything to either of you, Hermione said with a weak smile. She's right, Luna agreed. It was the force of the blast knocking over the table covered in bottles of nitroglycerin that caused us to fly through that wall. At least the wards prevented any serious injuries, Hermione said. Grrr! Tonks just ground her teeth together. Elsewhere, a jar of mayonnaise was starting to grow fuzz. But that's not important, at least not yet. Harry pulled off the highway and pulled out his guidebook. After flipping through the section on Portland, he was about to pull back into traffic when a small notation caught his eye. Powell's books, over 1 million titles. One of the more interesting examples of the use of magic in mundane environments is the way Powell's books uses several spells to manipulate the size of their store, making the inside many times larger than its outward appearance.
Powell's is located near Pioneer Square.
The best way to get there is to avoid traffic and take the Metro Portland's efficient train system. Why not? Harry asked himself. Harry pocketed his motorcycle and walked to the suspiciously convenient station. Hermione, Tonks said with false calm. I realize that you didn't go through the Aura Academy, and because of that I'm going to share something I learned there. Yes? Hermione said meekly. When you have the bad guys surrounded, Tonks began. You ask them to surrender. You do not scream, "What did you call me?" and blow up the building. You definitely shouldn't blow up the rubble. Laugh, blow up the rubble of the rubble. Laugh and yell, "Who's the bitch now?" Okay. You don't? Luna asked in shock. No, you don't, Tonks agreed. Is everyone on the same page? I still say they shouldn't have said that about me, Hermione muttered. I don't care what they call you, Tonks growled. You don't hit gas lines with fire spells. What about burn? Luna began. Or do anything else that causes buildings to explode? Tonks interrupted. Harry's eyes bulged when he walked through the front doors and saw how large the building was on the inside. How the hell do they get away with such blatant use of magic? He whispered to himself. A quick glance at a chart on the wall showed the section he wanted, and he was on his way. Excuse me, sir, a clerk called out politely. What is it? Harry asked. He was sitting on the floor in front of a shelf with a large stack of books beside his old pack. Do you need any help? Yes, Harry said quickly. Would it be possible to have this stack of books moved to the register so I can pick out a few more? We can do that, sir, the clerk agreed. But are you sure you want all these books? It'll be rather expensive. Cost doesn't bother me, Harry said with a wave of his hand. Friends do, and I have a couple friends that will be delighted to get these. I understand, sir, the clerk said simply. May I ask what your friends are interested in so that I can help you find a few more sections? I want anything you have on science and engineering, Harry said quickly. Books on the way things work would be great too. And architecture. I've got another friend that would enjoy getting a few books on architecture. Then might I suggest, I'll take it from here, a female clerk interrupted. You get these books to the register. All right, ma'am, the first clerk agreed. Who are you? Harry asked, bluntly. I'm in charge of the magical books section, the woman replied. It's an honor to have you here, Mr. Black. I see, Harry said neutrally. But unfortunately I don't plan to purchase any magic books, so if you'll excuse me. Are you sure? The woman asked with a smile. 'Cause we just happen to have a few rare books that I'm sure you'll find interesting. Fine, Harry gave up. What are they? First, the woman pulled out a book. The Rare Guide to Rare Spells. Only 3 known to exist. I guess, and the Really Rare Guide to Really Rare Spells, only 2 known to exist. The woman added another book to the pile. Not to mention the guide to spells that are so rare that they can only be found in this guide. Only 1 known to exist. And finally the handwritten manuscript of an untitled book with spells not known by anyone at any time. Then how was it written? Harry demanded. It wasn't, the woman said smugly. You said handwritten, Harry challenged. Current theory is that it wrote itself, the woman offered. Fine, Harry agreed with a sigh. And if you get those, then you might as well get the box set of illegal guides to illegal things, the woman said hopefully. Why not? Harry agreed with a shrug. And how about this scrap of paper that would otherwise be hidden inside one of your other purchases? The woman held up a map. Just take all the books you have on science, chemistry, physics, mathematics, engineering, architecture, and the way things work. Harry began, along with any rare books on potions and wards, and add in everything you want me to buy. We can do that, sir, the woman agreed cheerfully. And send them to my island, Harry finished with a grin. What? The woman faltered. I know what this is about, Harry said with a grin. You're trying to trick me into another quest. Well, it's not going to work. Not even a little one. No, not even a little one. Okay, the woman agreed in disappointment. Then will you have lunch with me? Lunch? Harry asked, with a large amount of suspicion. I haven't eaten, the woman explained, and I've heard all about you from my cousins. I'm curious, okay? Just lunch, the woman confirmed. Someone isn't going to burst in and try to rob the place? Not that I know, the woman replied. No tricks? Just lunch, the woman said firmly. A nice quiet lunch. Fine, Harry agreed wearily. A nice quiet lunch. And I know just the place, the woman said with a smile. Dilly up the street a bit. We can talk and have something to eat and nothing will happen today. You'd better be sure of that. As sure as I can be, the woman agreed. Now let's get going. A few minutes of walking brought them to a small hole-in-the-wall deli. Just so we're on the same page, Harry began. I don't think anything will happen, the woman said with a sigh. I don't know that anything will happen, and nothing I know leads me to believe anything will happen. If you're sure, Harry said slowly. Just go in, the woman snapped. Fine, Harry agreed nervously. Harry stepped through the door and immediately took a step to the left. Isu, the man behind the counter, greeted the woman. Who's your friend? Someone that's too paranoid for his own good, Sue replied. I'll have the usual. Same here, Harry said with a weak smile. Sorry about the way I came in. Seen it before, the man said with a shrug, and I'll see it again. You want anything to drink? Whatever's good, Harry said. You really do need to relax though, Sue told Harry. My family isn't out to get you. It'd just be nice to have a bit of warning, Harry said with a smile. Sure it would, the woman agreed. And most of us would give it if we could. I don't think you understand the curse. I'll give you an example. Let's say you came into my shop and I had a book that I had a feeling you'd be able to use. I wouldn't know why. I'd just have a feeling that you'd be able to use it. 10 years later you prop up a table with it, or use a spell in it to warm yourself up when it's cold, or God knows what. Ush. And you're all like this? Some see more and some see less, Sue replied. That's about as much as I'll ever be able to do. Fine, Harry allowed himself to relax. How'd you know I was coming? I have a friend in the police department, Sue replied. Oh, so, nice weather we're having. Just eat your sandwich, the woman said with a laugh. It's good, Harry said with a smile. Thanks. I figure that I should do my part to give you a bit of good to mix with all the trouble you've had. I appreciate that, Harry said as he wolfed down his meal. Wrap up a few more for him, Max, Sue said to the man behind the counter. For the road. Sure thing, Max agreed. I'm gonna get back on the road, Harry said as he stood up. Have a good day. You too, Sue replied automatically. Harry mounted his bike and headed south. Hermione. The Zippo in Hermione's pocket began to talk. Are you there? Who is it? Hermione answered. It's Professor McGonagall, the voice replied. What happened in Canada? We missed him, Hermione replied. By just a few minutes. I see. What's your status now? We're on Black's Island, Hermione replied. We've taken jobs with Black Ink. Good thinking, McGonagall voice said after a moment. Albus hasn't found much that we don't already know. Most of his contacts tell him the same thing. Black came, Black killed. Black left, and we don't know anything about Harry Potter. Damn it, Hermione cursed. Anything else? The Quibbler put out a new story about a team of trouble consultants working for Black Ink, McGonagall replied. Called the 3W. What did it say? Hermione asked with a grin. It said that there was a blonde, a brunette, and a bad dye job. McGonagall said. That the blonde was beautiful and intelligent and a leader. The one with the bad dye job cried a lot, and tried to stop their psychotic third member from going on another bloody rampage. And the third one is insane with a fetish for explosives. Really? Hermione growled. Yes, McGonagall agreed. I'd advise you to stay away from them, especially the crazy brunette. I'll keep that in mind, Hermione said through clenched teeth. Good. McGonagall was having a hard time restraining her laughter. Take care of yourself, Hermione. You too, Professor, Hermione replied. Hermione closed the Zippo and put it in her pocket. She had a certain blonde that she needed to talk to. Several hours of riding brought Harry close to the border with California, and on the advice of his guidebook, he turned off onto the last exit before the crossing. Harry continued up the small winding road until he caught a flicker of movement out of the corner of his eye. Suddenly a large cougar leapt out of the tree line and crossed the road with another bound. As big as my motorcycle, Harry muttered to himself. Should have taken a picture. A few more minutes of driving brought Harry to the other side of the mountain and the fantastic view it offered. Wow! Harry gasped. In the distance he could see Interstate 5 winding through the valley below. So worth it. This whole detour was worth this view. Luna, Hermione said with false calm as she approached her friend. Read this. Luna's expression darkened as she read the article in her father's magazine. How dare father suggest that I have a bad dye job? Don't worry, Hermione, I'll make sure he pays for this. I think you're the blonde, Hermione said with a wince. Well then, how dare he talk about my friends like that? Luna said with a frown. You do not have a bad dye job either, Hermione. I think that one refers to Tonks. Oh. What's the problem then? Luna asked innocently. He said I was a psychotic with a fetish for explosives. Hermione screamed. Luna glanced back at the article before turning back to her friend. So, Ain really is a good view, and I really did see a cougar the size of Harry's motorcycle in that area. I'll make for the last chapter, by Dakin Rick. Well, a few days ago the doctor showed the professor and me a rather interesting Muggle program. Henchgirl said enthusiastically. Some of the science was a bit iffy, but there was one thing in the show that we both had to have. What? Harry asked with growing dread. Something called a Swiss Army knife, Henchgirl replied. So after a bit of research, we found that they're made by a couple of companies, and we bought one of everything they had. Oh, Harry said as his heart rate began to slow. The only problem was that they were missing quite a few useful things, and that some of them were a little large to store in a pocket. The name was also quite misleading. Henchgirl continued, but we've solved those problems. The Swiss Army gave us a few problems, but we figured it out, says Henchgirl, and after a small pause. The button is on the side. The button for what? Harry asked, mildly confused. To summon the Swiss Army, of course, came Henchgirl's reply in a rather obvious manner. Dake, the inept amateur Omake author. Ready, Lavender? Professor Hamilton asked with a smile. I just want to stop by the defense group for a few minutes to say goodbye first. Lavender replied. All right, Hamilton agreed. Just do your best to calm down, you'll be fine. What if I'm not? Lavender demanded. It's my first real duel on the professional circuit. I'll be facing auras and dueling professionals. I'm just a student. You'll be fine no matter what you do. Hamilton reassured his student. Anyway, you couldn't do worse than I did in my first professional duel. What did you do? I dropped my wand, Hamilton said, and lost to a simple stunner. Then I wet myself. Really? The girl giggled. Unfortunately, Hamilton agreed with a sigh. I'd appreciate it if you didn't spread that story around. I'll think about it, the no longer nervous student said with a smile. Better hurry if you want to see the group before we have to leave. Hamilton said, Right, Lavender agreed. It took the girl a few minutes to reach the classroom, and she arrived just in time to hear the tail end of a speech. Saying what house Mr. Black would be in is meaningless, the student said. Better to say which of the founders would be in Mr. Black's house should he have chosen to found one of his own. I say it would have been Hufflepuff, the student said, and shocked the room. In his first class, Mr. Black taught us a lesson about loyalty, about dying and killing for your friends. Thank you. Lavender joined the applause and smiled at her friends. Good luck, Laugh, one of the students called out. Yeah, show them what you can do, another agreed. After a few hours of riding, a growling stomach caused Harry to pull over for lunch. Perfect time to eat that sandwich I got in Portland, Harry said to himself. The smell hit Harry just before the sandwich entered his mouth. Og, Harry gave the sandwich a sniff. Mayo went bad, guess I should get rid of it. Harry tossed the sandwich into a nearby trash can. Putting perishable items in a warm place isn't the best idea I've ever had, Harry mused as he rode away, leaving a very confused pair of watchers behind. Harry continued south until he saw a small sign advertising an amusement park. Why the hell not? He asked himself. Harry walked through the front gates and past the roller coasters until he reached the object of his desire, something he'd wanted to try since he was a small child. How much to ride? He demanded. The Ferris wheel is 3 of those tickets in your hand, the carney replied. Can I stay on it till I run out of tickets? Harry asked. No one else in line, the man agreed with a shrug. You want to spin around or just stay at the top for a few minutes? Spin a few times then. Stay at the top, Harry replied. Get on. The man motioned. One moment please. A woman ran up and thrust a handful of tickets into the carney's hands. Oh, stay on till he gets off. Sure. The carney stopped the ride and seated the woman 2 cars behind Harry. The grin on Harry's face grew wider and wider as he made the slow trip around and around until finally he stopped at the top. Roller coaster doesn't look too interesting, Harry muttered. Not as good as a broom, about as good as a Gringotts car. I'd guess wonder if it's safe without magic. Guess I'd better ask the professor. Chief, a wild-eyed code breaker yelled as he ran into the chief's office. I think I may have figured out what half of Mr. Black's latest message might mean. Well, it took us several hours without sleep and 15 gallons of coffee each, but we think that Mr. Black telling us to give a message to Agent 86. How do you figure that? Mr. Black said get rid of, the man said quickly. Another way to get rid of something is to 86 it. Mr. Black wants us to tell Agent 86 that the mayo is bad. Are you sure that Mr. Black wasn't just throwing away food that went bad? Course not, the codebreaker replied with a sniff of disdain. It's Mr. Black, everything he does is calculated. The sandwich is in the bio-warfare labs. So far they haven't found anything unusual, but for all we know it could contain a cure for cancer. Why don't you get a few hours of sleep? The chief said slowly. I'll be sure that Max gets the message. Already took care of that, sir, the codebreaker said proudly, but I'll tell the men you told us to turn in. Thanks, Chief. Dismissed, the chief said with a sigh. He had nearly 30 precious seconds of peace before he had another knock on the door. Enter. Hello, Chief, a woman said as she walked into the room. 99, the chief replied. What can I do for you? I was assigned to tail Mr. Black today, 99 replied. And? He went to the amusement park and I think he tried to arrange a face-to-face on the Ferris wheel, 99 reported. I was unable to get on the same car as he did, but I was able to get on one close enough to hear some of his message. Get on with it. All I was able to make out were the words, roller coaster. Interesting, not safe. asked Professor. I'm sorry I wasn't able to hear more. 99 finished with regret. Where did he go? The chief asked with a yawn. Happy World Land, 99 said with a smile. What? The chief demanded quickly. Gather every available agent. Tell them that we have a possible assassination attempt against a member of my family. I'm on it, Chief, 99 said quickly. God let us get there in time, the chief said as he ran out of his office. It took the gathered agents 15 minutes to gather and get to the park, and they arrived just in time to see one of the roller coasters derail. God no, the chief screamed as he watched it plummet to the ground. The agents watched in growing horror as their hastily cast charms did nothing, and they followed their leader as he ran towards the wreck to search for survivors. Grandpa, one of the young riders called out as the rescuers arrived. Holly, the chief yelled as he pulled the little girl into his arms. Thank God you're alive. I was so scared, the little girl said as she buried her face in his jacket. Do what you can for the survivors, the chief ordered as he comforted his granddaughter. They all seem to be fine, Chief, 99 said in shock as they surveyed the damage. There aren't any injuries among the riders, 99 repeated herself. Only casualties was someone that was standing under this thing when it fell. I suppose it could be worse, the chief said. One death is nothing when you think about what could have happened. He had several tools on him that were of great interest to one of our techs. 99 said slowly. It's too soon to make any determinations, but it seems likely that he may have been behind the accident. Thank you, 99, the chief said. Mr. Black, smiting the wicked and saving the innocent. I've heard the stories, but you really can't understand just how good he is until you see it for yourself, can you? No, Chief, 99 agreed. You can't. Harry was forced to pull to the side of the road when his pocket began buzzing. Yes, he asked his Zippo. It's me, Henchgirl's voice called out. Just learned of a small dueling tournament near your position that I thought you might be interested in attending. Where? Lake Tahoe, Henchgirl replied. East of you. Thanks, Henchgirl, Harry said with a smile. I think I'll check it out. You're welcome, Henchgirl replied happily. Have fun. I will, Harry promised. Black out. Henchgirl out. The mayo is bad, Max said to himself. What could that mean? I don't think it's something you'll have to worry yourself over, Mr. Smart. The voice caused Max to freeze. I suggest that you put your hands up, unless of course you'd like to die now rather than later. Never do today what you can put off till tomorrow, Max said as he raised his hands. How'd you know it was me? Who else uses a shoe phone? The man said with a grin. Walk down the hall slowly and enter the first door. Our leader would like a word with you. You leave me no choice but to do what you've ordered, Max said with a sigh as he complied. Hello, Mr. Smart, the leader said evilly as Max entered the room. I'm glad you decided to stop by. How could I refuse? Max quipped. True, the leader agreed. Tell us what you know and you'll let me live? For a bit longer than you would otherwise, the leader said calmly. Let me counter with an offer of my own, Max said. Surrender and I'll make sure that you never see the light of day again. Why would I do that? Because as we speak, 100 men are ready to descend on this place, Max said with a grin. I don't think so, Mr. Smart, the shadowy man replied with a smile. Would you believe 50 men? No. How about 2 Girl Scouts and a llama? Put him in his cell, the shadowy man commanded. Kill him at dawn. You're making a big mistake, Max called out over his shoulder, as the guards took him away. And they were, Max mused. Imagine their surprise when 100 men showed up on their doorstep, an hour after dawn. Well, you can't have anything, I guess. Max sighed. It wasn't like he wanted to live forever. Are you sure I'm up to this, Professor? Lavender asked nervously. I'm still just a student, and one of the best natural duelers I've ever had the pleasure to know, Professor Hamilton said with a smile. Just do your best. I will, Lavender agreed nervously. Taking one last breath, Lavender stepped into the ring and forced herself to smile confidently. Who's first? Me, a woman replied. You sure you're up to this, kid? I should be asking you that, Lavender replied confidently. Let's go then, the woman said with a smile. The 2 combatants took their place, and Lavender cast her first spell. What's that supposed to? Where did you learn that charm? the suddenly red woman demanded. Useful spells for the young witch, Lavender replied. It's in the back. I'm going to have to get that book, the woman replied. It'd be a good spell to know, but it won't win you this duel. No, it won't, Lavender agreed. The spell that will win the duel is the one I cast while you were distracted. Wunwun's eyes crossed, and she passed out. Looks like you win, the referee announced. What did you do? I used a healing charm, Lavender replied. It allowed me to cut off the supply of blood to the brain for a few seconds. It's hard to cast on an unwilling subject, so I used the first charm to distract her. Good job, the referee said with a nod. You up for another match? Yeah, Lavender agreed. Who's next? One of the spectators, the referee replied. You sure about this? He doesn't look like he'll go down as fast as your first opponent. Yeah, Lavender said firmly. Send him up. Hello, Lavender, the man said with a smile. How is Parvati doing? Fine, Lavender replied quickly. How do you know about her? You'd be surprised at the things I know, the man said with a grin. But that suspect is a conversation for another day. Why don't we get started? Let's, Lavender agreed. Lavender growled as the strange man swayed out of the way of her first several spells. Stop dodging and fight back, she demanded. As you wish, the man agreed, flicking his wand. What did ouch? Lavender dropped her wand after it became too hot to hold. What'd you do? Cooking charm, the man replied. Do you yield or would you like to continue? I give up, Lavender said in a whisper. You win. You did a good job. The man tried to reassure his opponent. Only advice I can give you is to stay calm. You got a bit agitated and your control slipped a bit during the match. Thanks, Lavender said with false cheer. No problem, the man replied. Have a good day. Lavender's shoulders slumped as she stepped out of the ring. I'm sorry, Professor, Lavender said. I wasn't good enough. Why are you sorry? Professor Hamilton asked with a frown. You were wonderful. He even said so. But I wasn't good enough to beat him. Lavender protested. Maybe I wasn't ready for this after all. You do know who that was, don't you? Hamilton asked with a smile. Who? Mr. Black, Hamilton replied with a smile. He even dropped off an invitation for you to go to his island. I'm very proud of you, Lavender. Mr. Black, Lavender screamed in shock. I dueled Mr. Black. Yes, you did, Hamilton agreed. There's no shame in losing to the best. So Mr. Black beat you. Who else can claim that? Harry Potter, Lavender muttered. So you've lost against the boy who lived and Mr. Black, Hamilton said with a laugh. Definitely nothing to be ashamed of. You're right, Lavender agreed. I just have to practice more, then I'm going to have another duel with Harry Potter and this time I'll beat him. Good for you, Hamilton cheered. What about Mr. Black? Next time I duel Mr. Black, Lavender began. He's going to need more than a cooking charm to beat me. I've been working on a few other projects and haven't felt much urge to write, so things are going slower than usual. On the plus side, and with a bit of luck, I should have a bunch of new things posted soon. By Lou and Lothana, on the Black Island, the port key they got allowed Lavender Brown and Professor Hamilton to reach Black Island. After spending a few moments in awe, Lavender took a chance to look around. Granted, it wouldn't be wise to wander off in a place like this, but a quick look here and there wouldn't hurt, especially since nobody seemed to mind. 10 minutes later, she decided that it would be impolite to go somewhere the host didn't allow her to go, not to mention that no matter how nice he was, so far he could consider this intruding his privacy, and that wouldn't be healthy. So she started talking to people instead. That is, half an hour later Professor Hamilton found her. Here you are, Lavender. I was looking for you. How do you like it? Here so far. Amazing, isn't it? Yes. The place is amazing. Though some customs here are a bit strange. What do you mean strange? Hamilton looked as if he was just faced with person who criticized everybody short and materialistic. In the middle of Goblin Bank. Just some customs, you see, Lavender said as if trying to make an excuse. You see, Professor, I talk to people a bit. I do hope you were on your best behavior. Of course. But they asked me how a girl like me got invitation here, so I told them I was dueling Mr. Black and he gave it to me, because he liked the way I fight. And then they extended hand to congratulate me. But Professor, why exactly people here? Instead of shaking hands, check if you have pulse. Ragnarok. Very interesting, Professor Windle said in delight. And very old. I've never seen something like this in such good shape. If it's a reproduction, then I'd give almost anything to meet the artist that made it. So you'll look it over? The girl asked eagerly. She was interested to find out what the man would say about the axe that belonged to the strange man in black. It'll be a pleasure, he agreed. Well? She asked, after he'd had a few minutes to look over it. It appears to have some writing scratched into it. The man leaned closer to look. Very old dialect. Can you understand it? Looks like a name, Professor Windle said. So try I think. But I thought he was supposed to use a flaming sword, one of the graduate students asked. True, Professor Windle agreed. Originally owned by Freya, traded away so that he could marry the giantess Guror. Does it say anything else? The woman asked. A few more things that I can't make out, Bjorn agreed. Who did you say you got this from? A man stopped by the other day and dropped it off, she explained. I have his card right here, Mr. Black. Strange, no first name. Did you say Mr. Black? Professor Windle's face lost all color and he looked like he was ready to collapse. Yes, the girl agreed. Is something wrong? No, Windle said quickly. But a lot of things suddenly make sense. What do you mean? Could have originally been an axe, Windle muttered. Only changed to a sword later. Or perhaps, well, nothing says that he could only have one weapon. What are you talking about, Professor? The girl asked. It's almost like you think these myths were true. Nothing important, Bjorn managed to force out. If you'll excuse me, it would probably be best if I were to return this to its owner. You know him then? I know of him, he agreed, and think it best that I return it personally. Oh, the girl said slowly. If you'll excuse me, the man began gathering his things. I must be going. Goodbye then, the confused girl replied. As he walked away, Professor Windle began muttering to himself. Setra or Setra as they call him at home. One of the first living being, leader of the fire giants, guard of Muspel, and the one that will burn the world at the end of Ragnarok. He giggled shrilly, the being that will bring an end to this world. If he exists, then what else may be true? I never thought one of my stories would come true. Status report, the evil leader demanded. We've discovered the group of missing assassins that we sent to Black's Island, one of the men began. They're working for the other side. They joined Black, the leader asked in shock. No, the man said as he glanced down at his notes. Black was killing them and they were rescued by Henchgirl.
Oh God.
What is it?
I just got to the part that said how he was killing them. The man replied, I don't think we should try to kill Mr. Black's friends anymore. Let me see that. The leader snatched the report. No, I don't think it would be a good idea to go after Black's friends. What's the status of your operation? Complete failure, the second man replied. Only casualty was one of our men. How in the hell did that happen? Mr. Black, the second man said simply. Oh, the leader growled. You minion. Yes, sir. Minion number 1 replied happily. Go make us something to eat, the leader screamed. Now or I'll have you flogged. Yes, sir, the minion agreed. Don't take your anger out on the help, one of the other men said. It lacks class. Minion number 1 wasn't the brightest minion in the world. That's why he had been assigned to make snacks for the meeting. It was a mistake that no one would live to regret. A few minutes of rummaging around the kitchen revealed to the minion that his task wouldn't be as easy as he had first thought. He went to the cupboard and the cupboard was bare. He went to the refrigerator and found only a pack of lunch meat. After several minutes of searching, he gathered all the items he'd found on the counter. Let's see, the minion said to himself. What should I make? I have some mayonnaise, some bread and some meat, sandwiches. Only, is mayonnaise supposed to be green? Or smell like that? Well, a couple of color and odor changing charms will soon fix that. Are you there, Mr. Black? Henchgirl's voice called through the Zippo. I'm here, Harry replied. What can I do for you, Henchgirl? You were right, Henchgirl said. That shopkeeper in Portland tried to pawn off a lot of quests on you. We've given most of them to the students. But one of the smaller things is near you, Henchgirl said. It's an old piece of paper with some writing on it and a map. What do you want me to do? Harry sighed. Just pop down there and see what's there, Henchgirl said quickly. Nothing else. All right, Harry agreed. Thank you, Henchgirl squealed. I'm sending through a portkey in the paper. Got it, Harry said. Just say superstition to activate it, henchgirl said. Here you go. The minion slid a plate into Max's cell. Enjoy the meal, it'll be your last. Thanks, Max replied. The secret agent picked up the sandwich and brought it to his lips and froze. Max lifted up the bread and glanced at the inside. Well, I guess it couldn't hurt to go hungry, and it might hurt to eat this. Max spent a very long night waiting until dawn and an even longer hour waiting for his rescuers to arrive. Max, 99 called out as she ran into the room. Thank God we got here in time. An hour late actually, Max replied, but since they're more than an hour late I think I can forgive your tardiness. What do you mean? I was scheduled to be put to death at dawn, Max replied. Take me to their leader. I'd like to have a chance to do a bit of gloating. I don't think you'll get a chance to do that, 99 said. Mr. Black got at them before we could. Guess he wasn't too happy about what they tried to do to the chief's granddaughter. What happened? Max demanded. They tried to arrange an accident involving her and a bunch of other children. 99 replied. Mr. Black poisoned their food. They all died expelling liquid from both ends except the leader. What happened to him? Evidence suggests that he slipped down some of the liquid and fell down a flight of stairs. 99 replied. Sounds like a quick way to go. Then he climbed back up the stairs and slipped down again. 5 times. Oh, persistent fellow wasn't he? He finally ended up drowning in a rather full toilet. 99 said with more than a hint of distaste. I guess Mr. Black thinks of almost everything, Max said. Almost? I just wish he could have taken the time to unlock the door to my cell, Max finished with a smile. It's the only thing that would have made this operation perfect. 99 walked up and gave the door a nudge and smirked when it swung open. You were saying? I need to see Mr. Olsen, Professor Windle said to the guard in front of the Icelandic consulates. May I see some identification, sir? The guard asked calmly. Here, he pulled out his passport and handed it to the guard. Tell him it's about Mr. Black. Do you have an appointment? Just tell him it's about Mr. Black, Bjorn snapped. Or tell his secretary. But tell someone. I'll radio that you're here, the guard agreed. But be aware that without an appointment, tell them that it's about Mr. Black and I won't need an appointment. I'll tell them, the guard sighed. Why did he always get the crazy ones? Bjorn waited for a few minutes until the guard returned. Well, they're expecting you. The guard motioned him in. Thank you, Bjorn said, as he rushed past the man. He was met by a strange man when he entered the consulate. Good afternoon, Dr. Windle, the man said calmly. My name is Johan and I understand that you have some information about Mr. Black. Yes, Bjorn agreed. But who are you? I'm in charge of special security, the man replied. Now about Mr. Black. I think he's certain, Bjorn said quickly. I was at the Scandinavian Heritage Museum in Seattle when the staff showed me something interesting that had been left by one of their visitors. I presume that this visitor was Mr. Black. Yes, Bjorn agreed. What did he leave and why does this make you think he's certain? This. Bjorn opened his briefcase and pulled out the old axe. Something to do with the writing, Johan guessed. Yes, Bjorn agreed. Something to do with the writing. Anything else? The name Surtur means sword. Black, Bjorn explained. Are you aware of the myths surrounding him? Many of them, Johan said calmly. Do you want us to arrange for him to get his axe back? I'd like you to arrange for me to return it if possible, Bjorn replied quickly. I said I would and, well, it doesn't seem like a good idea to break your word when it comes to anything involving Mr. Black. I'll see what I can do, Johan replied. In the meantime, have a seat and write up any information that comes to you about Mr. Black. Harry squinted at the old yellow piece of paper. My knee is under the needle. What the hell is that supposed to? Harry stopped talking as he noticed an old dilapidated gold mine appear in front of him. Harry sighed. Henchgirl, he called into his Zippo. Yes, Henchgirl replied quickly. What did you find? Gold mine, Harry said with a sigh. I know an old miner in Colorado. Contact him and get him in touch with the architect. You want to see about doing more with it then? Henchgirl said. You sure it's worth it? All else fails, it could be useful because of the charms on the place. Harry replied. Sides, you don't hide a place like this unless you think it has something worth hiding. Guess you're right, Henchgo agreed. So what are you planning to do now? Time for Mr. Black to disappear and Harry Potter to pop up again. Harry replied, "Less I wanna put school off. I'll send a portkey," Henchgirl offered. "Thanks, Chief," 99 said hesitantly. "What is it, 99? The chief replied. "I know you're still worried about what almost happened," 99 bit her lip. "But some new information has come to light regarding Mr. Black. Let's have it. Some of the Scandinavian countries are saying that he's the personification of one of their old myths." 99 began, "The giant that will destroy the world with his flaming sword." "Fits," the chief said with a weak grin. "Do you know what I've been doing? Thanking the gods that Mr. Black was around to save Holly." "That and doing a bit of research," the chief agreed. "I've been reading through every bit of information we have on Mr. Black in hopes of finding out what makes him tick. And he's like me," the chief explained. "I don't want to think about what I would have done to those bastards if Black hadn't gotten to them first, and I can't think about what I would have done if Black hadn't been able to save her." "Chief, we know a few things about Mr. Black," the chief continued. "He's very old, he's very dangerous, he's probably the inspiration for death and this Norse god of destruction, and he gets angry when children are harmed or endangered." "Germany," 99 said with a nod. "We saw what happened when he lost his temper." "Still don't know how many people he killed," the chief agreed. "We also know a little bit about Atlantis because of his comments, and the current speculation is that they were less than accommodating to squibs and muggles. Hell, Merlin himself was exiled because he didn't have sufficient magical strength." "So what did you learn?" 99 prompted. "It's just a theory," the chief cautioned. "But I think the government of Atlantis killed the wrong person. Maybe she was Mr. Black's daughter or grandchild. Hell, maybe she was just a person off the street and he saw her murder. Whatever she was to him, her death made him angry, very angry. So angry that his vengeance is the basis for half the end of the world myths. That he himself is considered the herald of the apocalypse. Do you want me to tell the others? Just give them a summary of my preliminary findings," the chief ordered. "I'll have a paper written up later." "Yes, Chief." Bjorn nearly wet himself when the portkey dropped him in a strange empty room. He was in the headquarters of Black Inc., one of the most well-known and at the same time mysterious organizations in existence. Is someone there?" he called out. "Henchgirl here," Henchgirl replied. "Who are you?" "Professor Bjorn Windle, I'm here to return Mr. Suchase," the man said nervously. "Sucher?" Henchgirl said with a frown. "I believe he's going by the name of Black at the moment," the man said quickly. "I'm sorry for the mix-up." "Perfectly all right," Henchgirl assured the man. "You'd be surprised at how often that happens." "Aina. Well, I admit it. I read about a figure in Norse myth that had a name that translated to Black and was involved in the end of all. Then I forgot who it was, and didn't take notes, so I ignored it for a while till it was mentioned again. Then I found what I was looking for and saw that I had given Harry the wrong weapon. And that, dear readers, is why it's a good idea to take notes. Chief, we know a few things about Mr. Black," the chief continued. "He's very old, he's very dangerous, he's probably the inspiration for death, and this Norse god of destruction, and he gets angry when children are harmed or endangered." "Germany," 99 said with a nod. "We saw what happened when he lost his temper." "Still don't know how many people he killed," the chief agreed. "We also know a little bit about Atlantis because of his comments, and the current speculation is that they were less than accommodating to squibs and muggles. Hell, Merlin himself was exiled because he didn't have sufficient magical strength." "So what did you learn?" 99 prompted. "It's just a theory," the chief cautioned. "But I think the government of Atlantis killed the wrong person. Maybe she was Mr. Black's daughter or grandchild. Hell, maybe she was just a person off the street and he saw her murder. Whatever she was to him, her death made him angry, very angry. So angry that his vengeance is the basis for half the end of the world myths. That he himself is considered the herald of the apocalypse. Do you want me to tell the others? Just give them a summary of my preliminary findings," the chief ordered. "I'll have a paper written up later." "Yes, Chief." Bjorn nearly wet himself when the portkey dropped him in a strange empty room. He was in the headquarters of Black Inc., one of the most well-known and at the same time mysterious organizations in existence. "Is someone there?" he called out. Henchgirl here, Henchgirl replied. Who are you? Professor Bjorn Window. I'm here to return Mr. Sucho's axe, the man said nervously. Sutut, Henchgirl said with a frown. I believe he's going by the name of Black at the moment, the man said quickly. I'm sorry for the mix-up. Perfectly all right, Henchgirl assured the man. You'd be surprised at how often that happens. Well, I admit it, I read about a figure in Norse myth that had a name that translated to Black, and was involved in the end of all. Then I forgot who it was and didn't take notes, so I ignored it for a while, till it was mentioned again. Then I found what I was looking for and saw that I had given Harry the wrong weapon. And that, dear readers, is why it's a good idea to take notes. Go Aggies. Harry arrived on campus in front of the register. Yes. The woman asked, when did you get here? Just arrived, Harry said. I'm Harry Potter. I should be signed up to start classes at this time of year, the woman said oddly. I'll look. The woman played with her computer for several seconds before a look of comprehension appeared on her face. Ah, you should have said you were an exchange student. Sorry. I should be the one apologizing, the woman said with a laugh. I didn't hear an accent, so I assumed. How long have you been in Texas? Not long, Harry replied, but I've always been good with languages. Yes, I see that, the woman said with a glance at her computer. Would you like me to make you a printout of your schedule? Please, Harry agreed. Out the front door and take a left, the woman said. Just follow the path till you see the sign that says, thanks, Harry replied. Harry walked out of the building until he saw a large sign with glowing letters. Lots of magic in this place, Harry muttered to himself. Well, no point in wasting time. Taking a deep breath to steady his nerves, Harry walked into the building and was immediately met by a woman at a desk. May I help you? I think so, Harry replied. I have this printout. Let me see that, the woman demanded. This all looks to be in order. I just need your signature here and for you to fill out this medical questionnaire before we get started. Okay, Harry agreed slowly. This wasn't what he expected, but then again he didn't have anything to compare this situation with. Finished? The woman asked impatiently. Almost, Harry said quickly. Here. Go through the door behind me, the woman said. The doctor is waiting. She is? The doctor is a man, the woman said rudely. And he's too important to be kept waiting. Right, Harry agreed. Harry walked up to the door and peeked inside. Mr. Potter, come in. A man inside said loudly. I'm Dr. Schlock, Harry Potter, Harry muttered in reply. This doesn't look like an archaeology class. That's because it's not, the man replied with a grin. It's the high-energy magic building, where we find out things man was not meant to know. I have a friend that you might want to meet, Harry said with a grin. The professor hangs out with Henchgirl. Two of the finest minds in the field, Dr. Schlock agreed. Inspirations to us all. Now if you'll just sit in this chair. Okay, Harry agreed. Why are you strapping me down? Oh, don't worry about the restraints. They're just there to prevent you from escaping, Schlock said absently. You did provide the secretary with a copy of your medical records, did you not? I filled out a survey of some sort, Harry agreed nervously. Good, then we're all set. What are we doing? Harry demanded. You want to become an archaeologist, yes? Yes, Harry agreed. And you'd like to get through your schooling as quickly as possible? Yes, yes. Then this invention is the thing for you. The odd man enthused. With it you can learn an entire subject in just a few minutes. That sounds nice, Harry allowed. What's the drawback? Just a small headache, Schlock replied a bit too quickly. That's all? I think I figured out a way to stop your brain from oozing out your nose, Schlock said in a rush. Now let's get started. Why don't you just let me go? Harry suggested. Go, Dr. Schlock said. All right. Wait, Harry screamed. But it was too late. Harry felt like his body was being used as a relay in a power station. The pain was incredible. Mercifully, it did not last long. So, did it take? After a few moments, Harry managed to reply. I know Kung Fu, he groaned. Really? Dr. Schlock asked with a frown. I thought we got rid of that program. You're not feeling the urge to become a janitor, are you? No, Harry managed to reply. Good, Dr. Schlock said enthusiastically. And since at first I don't succeed and all that rot. Aaron. Harry's body arched as the machine gave him another jolt of knowledge. Harry didn't know how long he was in the chair or how much information had been forcibly downloaded into his brain. Well, that's the last of them. Schlock said happily. I'll have the university mail your degrees. Harry chose not to reply, deciding instead to focus all his energy on stumbling out the door. Once he had escaped from the mad scientist, he pulled out his Zippo and called for help. Hench girl, he whispered. Yes? Hench girl's voice replied. Help. Harry managed to groan before everything went dark. The last thing he remembered was Hench girl frantically calling for an emergency extraction. Hench girl forced herself to smile as she walked into Black the Ink Hospital and Medical Research Center. What can I do for you, Hench girl? The doctor asked without looking up. Hello, doctor, Hench girl said innocently. I need to borrow some horrid disease. Tell me about leprosy. Third shelf on the tote. Why do you want to borrow a horrid disease? The doctor asked suspiciously. Does this have something to do with the fact that Mr. Black's brain turned green? Maybe, Hench girl admitted. What'd you do? The doctor asked wearily. Nothing, Hench girl said sadly. That's why I need the disease. Something that causes disfigurement and horrific pain. Explain, the doctor ordered. Well, Hench girl began. Some unscrupulous wannabe scientist decided to use an unsafe device on Mr. Black, and I want to make it clear by example that this is not acceptable behavior. Except when you do it, the doctor muttered. What was that? Hench girl asked. I didn't quite catch that. I was wondering why Mr. Black didn't just kill the idiot himself, the doctor replied. No reason, Hench girl said with a devious smile. No reason at all. Now about that horrifically painful virus. Not until you tell me what this is all about, the doctor said with a smirk. Every little detail. I can't, Hench girl said with a shrug. Sorry. Does this have something to do with Mr. Black's real identity? The doctor prompted. As death, Hench girl said nervously. I suppose I could use the plague if you want. Great idea, Hench girl giggled nervously. For 15 minutes. No, as Harry Potter, the doctor replied. How'd you know? Hench girl demanded. Two things, the doctor began. I'm a doctor, more specifically I'm his doctor. Okay, Hench girl agreed. What's the second reason? My nurse. Talk. Nurse? Hench girl's eyes crossed. The house elf, the doctor explained. She couldn't stop talking about how great Harry Potter, sir. I've explained things to her and she'll stay quiet. Now about this revenge you wanted to get. I think I have just the thing. The two girls worked late into the night working up the perfect potion. The doctor contributed her knowledge of the human body and Hench girl used her amazing skills. Pity the poor fool that got in their way. I've been meaning to ask you, the doctor said as they finished. How are you going to get him to drink it? I've got a cunning plan, Hench girl replied. It's a masterpiece of subtlety and cunning. Blah 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 ha ha. The doctor sighed. It was so tedious working around people that would descend into maniacal laughter without warning. On the plus side, it did allow her the opportunity to sneak out of the room. You, Hench girl called out to an odd-looking man. Me, the man replied. Is your name Dr. Schlock? Hench girl growled. Yes? Drink this, Hench girl commanded as she thrust a vial of vile potion into the man's hand. Okay, Dr. Schlock agreed, reasoning that it might encourage the pretty girl to talk to him longer. Inwardly, Hench girl began to cackle evilly. The goose potion should be kicking in right about now. Excuse me, Dr. Schlock screamed, but I must be getting to a bathroom. I'm afraid I spelled all the bathroom doors shut, Hench girl said with a smile, and charmed your pants to stay up when you weren't looking. I'd say have a nice day, but you won't ward, or a nice month, or year. It might wear off after a decade though, so I guess you have something to look forward to. The Dr. Schlock's pained scream echoed through the halls. Hee, Hench girl giggled. The potion she'd mixed was doing its job, and it'd take months for a skilled potions master to find a cure, months for the doctor's little surprise to do its work. Hench girl giggled again. They always looked at the contents of the bottle and never thought to check what was on the outside. In a little shorter than usual, but it seemed like a good stopping point. Posted some notes by mistake earlier. Omake by Celebuen tel contar. Morvallo gently patted his light rose-dun stallion's haunches. smiling as Rockefeller swung his head over to him. The stallion snorted and nuzzled Morvala, gently blowing into the Atlantean mage's hair. "Grandpapa," Moriel, Morvala's granddaughter, cried. Rockefeller whinnied loudly and Anatar, Gorgoroth, and Makar cried out in response. Anatar, a pure white stallion, broke from his stall and stared Moriel down. "Anatar, back boy, go on," Morvala snapped. The white horse backed back into his stall, snorting and pawing the ground. Then a fire chestnut head was thrust out, followed by a pitch-black one as Marker and Gorgoroth wanted some attention too. "Moriel, why don't you go back and get Emrys? I need him to groom the other three." The mage slipped the thin bridle over Rockefeller's head, and led the pale stallion out into the sunlit street as Moriel ran off to get the servant. Emrys was there in a few minutes, holding a grooming brush and leading Makar out of the stables to hitch the red horse to the outdoor cross ties in order to groom the finicky warhorse. "Morvala, sir?" Emrys asked. "Yes, Emrys? I need to go and get some work done, boy. So be quick." "Listen, my lord. The senators wanted to drive me out." "Well, we knew that it was going to happen sooner or later. Emrys, you are the lowest ranking Atlantean by magic level, and so naturally they'd want you to leave. Take the grey and leave quickly. I can't have my servant strung up now, can I? Go to the mainland." Morvala set the light saddle on his pale mount, and pulled his black hood up over his face. "Here, my lord," Emrys said, handing the very imposing figure his scythe. Morvala then swung into the saddle and gave Rockefeller a light kick. The pale horse then cantered off. "Good luck, Modin," Muriel whispered to her longtime friend. Modin. Emrys nodded to her, walked back into the stable and took Shade, his grey gelding, out before leading Makar back into his stall. Then the horse whisperer leapt onto the horse, and rode off. "Good luck indeed, old friend." Well, what have we here?" a voice asked. Muriel turned around to see one of the senators behind her. Muriel Istor, all alone, not even her dear lover to protect her. "Leave my granddaughter alone," a voice hissed. Rockefeller leapt the fence, Morvala clinging to the pale horse. "Why should I?" the senator snapped. He lifted his blade and plunged it into Muriel's side. The girl gave a huff as her breath left her in a rush. The senator removed his blade, and blood gushed from the wound. "I am Death Incarnate," Morvala screamed, lifting his scythe as Rockefeller rushed forward. In the flight, the horse seemed gangly and sick, the ribs seeming to show beneath the seemingly dull coat. The fine head became a skull covered in taut skin, and the legs became nothing but bones and a drum-tight hide. Morvala's face seemed to become nothing less than a human skull, and the passers-by on the street saw that Morvala's statement was true. He was Death Incarnate. As the scythe met the senator's neck, his head was severed. Then Morvala leapt from his pale horse, and held his dying granddaughter in his arms. No, Moriel, my darling granddaughter," Morvala whispered. But it was too late. Moriel was dead. Morvala let a scream of loss rip from his throat. Then he released Moriel, and launched himself on his stallion, releasing the other three horses in a burst of mage energy. The three horses, Enatar, the gleaming white stallion, Makar the blood-red warhorse, and Gorgoroth, the black stallion that looked almost leprous, followed the grief-maddened Atlantean. "You will all pay," Morvala hissed in anger. "You will never leave this land, and will all drown and go to cold, watery graves. All will die. Anyone who kills a child shall now know my vengeance." As the four horses and the mage left, three people, a warrior, a leper, and a crazy temple leader who thought he was the son of some Atlantean god or other, leapt onto the red, black and white horses and left. Thus began the myth of the four horses of the apocalypse. 300 years later, Morvala took his own life. 2,000 years later, a boy named Harry Potter was born. His soul was a new one, but behind it he had a second soul. Morvala, Death Incarnate, the rider of the pale horse, had been reborn. The world would never be the same, and all would know that their apocalyptic legends and myths would soon come to pass. For now the herald of death was back, and death would now bow out to allow Morvala to take its place once again. The earth let forth a light shudder of fear and awaited the day that Morvala would come into his own, and take the name Mr. Black Harry as an idiot. "It's time to go, Lavender," Hamilton said to his protege. "Yes, Professor," Lavender agreed. Before you do, Percy entered the conversation. I've been instructed to give you a gift from Mr. Black himself. Really? Hamilton asked with a pleased smile. What is it? A book of spells, Percy answered as Lavender tore open the package. Common cosmetic charms from around the world, Lavender read. I'm told it also has several other more Percy paused to find the correct term. Of the type normally thought to be used by Mr. Black. Thanks, Percy, Lavender said. It's pencil, Percy said primly. What are you doing around here? Paperwork and research into the history of Mr. Black, Percy said quickly. Did you know that the Soviet Union went through several leaders in rapid succession before they got the one that allowed communism to fall? Really? Lavender asked in shock. What happened? They all died, Percy said with a smirk. Of natural causes. Quite fascinating, Hamilton interrupted. But we really have to go now, Lavender. You two can continue this later. Okay, Lavender agreed. Goodbye, Pencil. Goodbye, Miss Brown, Percy replied. Know that you are welcome to return at any time. With that, Lavender took hold of the portkey and traveled back to Hogwarts. How much longer do I have to rest in bed? Harry asked. The doctor wants you there for another few days, Henchgirl replied with a smile. And you're going to listen to her, aren't you? Can't, Harry replied. I have to get back on my feet and on the job. Can't abandon the world, can I? You don't have to do anything, Henchgirl said quickly. In fact, doing nothing might be the best thing you could do. But what would happen if Mr. Black were to disappear? Harry protested. I have a responsibility to— Shut up, Henchgirl growled. I didn't want to believe it, but you really are an idiot. What? I talked to Hermione about you. Henchgirl ignored Harry's expression. She said that her friend Harry had one major flaw. Can you guess what it is? A saving people thing, Harry ventured. No, Henchgirl replied. But close. She said that you like to feel responsible for everything. Harry to the rescue, it's all my fault, Voldemort came back, etc. I didn't believe her. I knew my friend. The man I'd met in Paris wasn't like that. But look what happened. You find out about the mysterious Mr. Black and decide that you have to become him. But I do, Harry said slowly. Like I said, what would happen if Mr. Black disappeared? You have no idea, do you? Henchgirl asked in shock. Let me tell you about something that happened yesterday. A policeman was walking up a flight of stairs in his station when he slipped and fell down them, breaking a leg. What's this? I'm not finished, Henchgirl said sternly. He landed in front of several paramedics and was taken to the hospital. His wife heard about this and packed up the children to go meet him. Only minutes after they left, the house fell into a sinkhole. They tell me that one of the walls collapsed onto the baby's crib. At the hospital, a routine test determined that the policeman had a tumor that was removed in the nick of time. An investigation was launched and they determined that this was all the work of Mr. Black. Mr. Black noticed the policeman's tumor and he noticed the sinkhole that was going to swallow the house, and he arranged an accident to fix everything. Why didn't Mr. Black just say something? Harry asked. The policeman was injured on the job, Henchgirl explained, which makes life a bit easier for him. Not to mention the fact that his wife was not happy to learn that he'd been putting off his physical. I know about this because she sent a polite thank you note asking you to break both legs next time. It came with his thank you note saying that if his wife had found out, then she would have broken both of his legs. It added that as things were, she was letting him off. Oh, it happened in a place that you've never been near, Henchgirl began. And as far as I can tell, it was all a complete accident. You don't have to be Mr. Black, you don't have to take responsibility, just relax and let things occur naturally. So I should stop being Mr. Black. You should relax, Henchgirl corrected. Okay, Harry agreed. Now that is settled, Henchgirl began. I need you to do something for me. What is it? A favor for a friend, Henchgirl replied. So what was it like? Parvati asked eagerly. It was amazing, Lavender replied. Like the best spa in the world combined with school. School? In interesting school, Lavender corrected herself. Like if every class was like Professor Hamilton's. Oh, so are you going to go back? I think so, Lavender said. Mr. Black gave me an open invitation. Really? He said I had a potential that would be a crime not to nourish. Lavender said proudly. That it would be. Another voice agreed. The girls turned to see the diminutive charms professor. I've talked to Professor Hamilton and we've agreed that it might do you good to learn a bit of competitive dueling from me. Really? Really, Flitwick agreed. And I believe that Minnie wanted to teach you a few things too. Professor McGonagall too? Parvati asked in shock. Minnie? She keeps going between angry at herself for not seeing it first and pride that you're in her house. Flitwick said with a smile. It's quite amusing. Professor McGonagall is proud of me, Lavender said with a stunned look. She's proud of all her students, Flitwick corrected. But you've given her something to brag about. She brags about me. Lavender's mind fought to reconcile the information she'd just received with her image of the stern woman. Constantly, Flitwick confirmed. Are Tuesdays after class good for you, Miss Brown? Yes, Professor, Lavender agreed. Then I will see you then, Flitwick said happily. I told you I didn't have anything to do with it, Hermione snapped. Oh? Tonks said. I suppose that their hideout just exploded by accident. That's what the police said, Hermione agreed. By accident without causing any damage to the orphanage behind it. Yup, Hermione said firmly. Or the daycare next to it, the school across the street, and the hospital on the other side. That's what happened, Hermione confirmed. Besides, you were with me the whole time. You know I didn't do it. I know you took a suspiciously long time to go to the bathroom, Tonks said suspiciously. Luna was with me, Hermione protested. She wanted me to help fix up her hair. Aha, that's not important, Hermione said in an attempt to change the subject. Remus, what did you want to tell us? I think I've found Harry, Remus said proudly. What? Hermione asked in shock. Why didn't you tell us sooner? I wanted to make sure, Remus replied. It took a little detective work, but I think he might be on Atlantis. Well, let's go, Hermione demanded. We have to get there before he leaves. Touch the coin and we'll be on our way, Remus replied. The group arrived in a small room and Hermione immediately grabbed the nearest person. Where is Harry Potter? She growled. Should be in his room at this time, the man shuddered. Third door on the right. Thanks. Hermione dropped the man and stormed to the room. She was going to give him such a talking to. Hermione flung open the door and froze, suddenly uncertain now that she'd seen him. But Harry. Hey Hermione, Harry replied. How dare you hey Hermione me, Hermione hissed. You left us. I'm sorry, I just needed some time to myself, Harry stammered. After everything that happened, I couldn't stay there. So how'd it go? Henchgirl asked. It was good to see them again, Harry replied. I'm going to have to do that again. I'm glad, Henchgirl said. Atlantis project seems to be going good, Harry said. Giving it to the Flamels was a good idea. Sorry about that, Henchgirl said. I know you wanted to do it yourself, but don't be sorry, Harry interrupted. He's doing a good job. Good? So the professor and I have a project we'd like your help with. Oh? Yep. What kind of project? Harry prompted. It's a variation on the poor trans technology, Henchgirl replied. It will let us. The end. Inga. Well, that's the story. I have a few storylines brewing that might get written or might not. I don't know. But I hope they do. While I wrote Make-A-Wish, several things happened. A friend of mine killed himself. Another tried. Another died in a motorcycle accident, etc. Some of the scenes were written after that, and I think you can tell. Hope you enjoyed reading this as much as I enjoyed writing it. In an unrelated note, check my profile for news on the HP Buffy crossover. Another nice make, by Celebuen Telcontar. The farmer helped his mare to foal her first baby, and took its forelegs to pull the foal in order to make it slip out of her. She struggled to her hooves to turn and lick her new baby dry. As she was about to groom the membrane off of the colt, the farmer realized that the foal was not of either the dam or sire's breed. The American feral horse, also known as the Mustang, is a compact and rugged horse, and the foal was a gangly creature, his skin stretched taut over the foal's bones. Its eyes were sunken, and the coat was very thin. What the? Farmer McGovern said. He touched the foal as the mare backed away from him. The colt was cold to the touch, and smelled something like a half-rotten corpse. He turned his head towards the frightened farmer, and blew at him, sounding somewhat like a goose's hiss. The mare shrank from her colt, and then broke for the open stall door as soon as she could. racing down the hallway and out into the paddock before she cowered against the side of the fence. Farmer McGovern stared at the monstrous foal before trying to pat it. He felt the cold, clammy corpse-like flesh of the colt, and the foal snorted and tried to bite him. The baby's teeth caught on his skin, and he yelled as it felt as if he had been bitten by an adder, or maybe a tarantula. He stared at the bite, which was covered in greenish goo. It was probably poisonous, McGovern thought, and went to the pump to rinse the bite out. As McGovern went to see to his bite, he saw Darkness, the colt's half-brother, a jet-black colt foaled of a different mare capering about. The colt seemed a bit more lively than usual, and even at his young age of 2 days old, the colt was very strong. In fact, the colt looked almost like he had been born 3 weeks ago. Then, as McGovern watched, the black colt became a feral black stallion. The doorway to the barn was darkened as the former colt of Windswept and Firestorm, the pale colt that looked like death, stepped out. As a stallion, the magically fast-grown horse whinnied loudly. Darkness, Mars and Moonlight, 3 colts by Firestorm, came cantering over. Mars broke down the fence when he came over, and the other horses shrank from the 4 deadly stallions. "Daniel," Margaret, McGovern's wife, called. "Stay in the house." McGovern screamed at her. "I have managed to breed the 4 horses of the apocalypse, I think. Windswept dropped the pale horse this morning, and he's a stallion now." The farmer backed away from the 4 horses, and stood still as he saw a man in black come up to him. The pale horse leapt the fence gracefully, and went to stand by the stranger. "Watch out!" McGovern screamed as the horse stood near him. The 3 others, the mounts of War, Famine and the Antichrist, broke through the fence to stand near their leader, the Mount of Death. The strange man leapt onto the horse's back, and the pale horse and Death rode away. In the wind of their passing, a business card fluttered to the dusty ground, and now dead grasses. "Margaret, the man, he was Mr. Black." "Mr. Black? Well then, the horses belong to him, don't they?" "Yes. And this hench girl and the professor, and someone else. All of them are powerful enough and are the true heralds of famine, war and the Antichrist. We have the apocalypse on our hands, Margaret. Let's leave the place, go to Jamaica. We've always wanted to visit there." Harry Potter dismounted from the beautiful and skeletal pinkish horse that had appeared beside him. The horse nuzzled him, and he laughed and patted his nose. "Harry Potter, Mr. Black, Morvala, I am Rockefern, the pale horse, as some would call me. I have chosen you as my rider, and you will be known as Death throughout the world once again. Come, there is work ahead of us." The pale horse had spoken to him. He grabbed his scythe and mounted the horse before the mythical creature rushed away in a gale of foul stench and deathly cold. Mr. Black would now have a new title, the rider of the pale horse of the biblical chapter of Revelations. Everywhere, Christians were panicking and praying in a marathon manner. The grocery stores were sold out of ingredients to make unleavened bread and wine. No one was anything less than purely panicked, and everyone knew that the end of the world was upon them. So mote it be. Harry Potter, Mr. Black, Morvala, whatever you call him, the pale rider, Death incarnate, was again upon the land. Weep ye all with me, for thy earth shalt ne'er be again the same. So mote it be.